the Merigun gets an upgrade from POF. I'm going to take a look at this bolt carrier group and a little bit about POF coming up next on GBGuns. What you saw in that quick opening spot was my GBGuns Merigun build. I have a video on that if you want to know more about that gun. It's my patriotic gun, as if there's such a thing as an unpatriotic AR-15, right? And thought I'd upgrade it with the ultimate bolt carrier group from POF USA, Patriot Ordnance Factory, and they are indeed patriots. I got to visit these guys. Great honor. Got to go shoot a bunch of their guns and see how things were made. And these guys are hardcore enthusiasts. In fact, I think enthusiast is a disservice. These guys love their country and make these guns so that we can defend ourselves, so that law enforcement can do their job, and our military ideally can stay safe. I appreciate that about them. And their facility, you probably could have eaten off the floor. Beautiful, beautiful factory, and it shows in the craftsmanship and quality of their work. I mean, this thing is just a gorgeous bolt carrier group. And you might notice a few things are different about this, and that's what we're going to go over next, line by line, comparing this with a standard mil-spec bolt carrier group. So Patriot Ordnance Factory builds their stuff for hard use, seriously hard use. Their intent is to build the one rifle that if you were just going to have one AR and you knew that you needed your life to depend on it, it was going to last forever, or at least last as long as you could reasonably expect, that's what they build the rifles for, and that's why their stuff is different. It's also why it costs a bit more. Now, if you've seen the Iraq Veteran 8888 meltdown video of one of their guns, you've seen just how hard these things can run. So when they came around to designing a bolt carrier group, and sure, these M16 ones run just fine. They've been working for decades. So what's so terrible about that? Well, nothing. But if you wanted one that was going to go longer and one that wasn't going to have things come loose or come apart or destroy your rifle, that's where this design comes in. First thing you notice right off the bat that's different is the gas key. Gas key on a standard bolt carrier group is actually a separate piece of metal that gets bolted on and then hopefully properly staked like this one is, where a little bit of that steel is driven onto the screw so the screw doesn't want to come loose. It still can, it's still a separate piece of metal. The POF one, the bolt carrier is machined out of one piece of steel, and you can see that key is included in it. They removed some excess weight back here that didn't need to be there, and then the tube, which is a slightly different shape, is driven in and pinned. The reason why the tube is a different shape is because we have this roller cam pin, which is another improvement. More on that later. Let's continue on with the carrier. So one thing that I hadn't paid attention to previously, but have now certainly become aware of, is the fact that obviously your bolt carrier group is made of steel and your receivers are made of aluminum. So the surface that grinds between the two, right here, you can see a little bit of wear on there. This is a fairly new bolt carrier group, is grinding against aluminum. And when you've got a sharp edge like this spot, and you can see it definitely makes a contact point there, and another one on the backside, that's steel versus aluminum. Guess who's winning? Your bolt carrier group is, which means your receiver is losing a little bit of aluminum being ground away with each shot. Eventually, that area is going to open up and allow for more wiggle room and less guidance of the carrier, which of course can impact accuracy, impact your dwell time, all these things that you spend all this time and money trying to perfect in your rifle. And now we're not talking about your average plinking rifle here. We're talking about taking an AR to the maximum. All that's going to be lost. You can see we have a little bit of contact down here as well, and a definitive edge where those pads, if you will, start and stop. On the POF piece, the edges are smooth, There is no hard start or stop. Also reduced a little bit of the metal here. That helps with weight. That also isn't necessary. You don't need a solid guide all the way across. So you see where that's removed. Also have some metal reduced here to cut some weight out. And that stamp there, I can get the light to focus on it, is one of the things about Patriot Ordnance Factory that really impressed me. That's a date stamp. So they've got an ISO 9001 certification, which is a certification to machining and manufacturing standards. Every piece that they make gets stamped. In fact, even got one of the charging handles here. Even the charging handle is stamped. Camera's not playing nice today. You can see there with the date it was made on, and is trackable. So if there's ever any question or any issue, any warranty thing, POF, who keeps records of all this, can pull up the records, find out when exactly it was made, who was working on the machines, where the materials come from. Everything is 100% traceable, which is pretty awesome. You can see we have a nice finish on this carrier. Back to the carrier. Looking at the back ends, you can see where this taper is a little gentler. Show you the rest of it. Now this roller cam pin idea is pretty neat, and I'll pull it out, get this cotter pin out, drop our firing pin. So why a roller cam pin? Well, something that I'm sure you've noticed if you've got a lot of rounds through AR, you'll see the corners of the standard cam pin start to get some shine to them, and that's because while the bolt carrier rocks a little bit left to right as it's cycling in the rifle, that cam pin grinds on the inside of your receiver. This roller pin, depending on what side it's leaning to, rolls like a little roller bearing. It's a brilliant idea. I'll get this back together and put it inside of an upper receiver to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So I've got an upper receiver here. This one's from Bootleg Inc., which is a sister company of Primary Weapon Systems. And we're going to put our bolt carrier in. And you'll notice there's a little bit of side-to-side play there. That happens during cycling. And that sound you hear would be the cam pin grinding. Instead, it's the cam pin rolling along the side. So you can imagine if you've got yourself a build that you particularly like, or some nice parts put into a gun, you don't want to be messing that up with each shot and wearing away your receiver. You can see there's no marks in this receiver. It's obviously unused, brand new upper receiver. We'll throw our GI style in here. It's got that same play, so you can tell it's not the Patriot Ordnance bolt carrier that has play. Hear the high pitch? God, that hurts to hear. That's what happens when the bolt carrier is pressed to a side and moving. So obviously that's much slower and less pressure than what happens when you fire. And in the name of science, I made a sacrifice here, and you can see the camera focus for us. A fine line of wear already starting on that upper receiver. This brand new unfired bootleg receiver with a V7 door there. Can't wait to put this together, but I've already scratched the inside of it and marred it up just with some dry runs and a little bit of side-to-side pressure using the standard GI bolt. So that's why for the Merigun and all of its niceness that I've put together, is it a super high dollar build? No, but it is a build that I care about. And so I'm going to run this POF bolt carrier group, and I think I might swap over just to their charging handle as well. It is fully ambidextrous. You can see by pulling by either side that I'm moving the latch. And once again, there's that stamp on there, the born on date, if you will. Even a charging handle. I mean, charging handles are probably one of the least expensive, least fancy pieces you have on an AR-15, and yet it's got its date on it. Get the old charging handle out of the Merigun, and I get this in here and put everything in and together. I think it's a pretty handsome looking bolt carrier group as well, and knowing what Patriot Ordnance Factory stands for and why they exist and what their goals are, makes me proud to have their bolt carrier group in the Merigun build. We'll get this out to the range. Still haven't done the accuracy testing on this guy. That will be coming in a future video. So far, it's just been a lot of fun to build and shoot. Thanks for watching.